Hello everybody and welcome to Mother Rabbit's Kitchen. Today we're doing a really quick video on how to make 2 fluffy loaves of sandwich bread made with freshly milled flour. So I'm going to start with some hard white wheat. This is organic hard white wheat from Country Life Natural Foods. So I'm going to measure 1,100 grams. And again, this is going to be for 2 separate loaves. They're both going to be large and fluffy. So I'm going to measure 1,100 grams of flour on my little scale here. And I always say that whenever I'm measuring my wheat, I add 10 grams before I mill it, just to account for any flyaway flour. Don't want that to get lost in the recipe. So, starting my scale here, and I'm gonna measure 1,110 grams of the hard white wheat. There we go. We're gonna pour the wheat into the mill. Put the top on and turn it on. Normally I would get all of my other ingredients into my bowl while the flour is milling, but that was a lot of noise, so I waited until it was over so that you could hear me explain the rest of the ingredients. But my advice to you is while your flour is milling, get all of your other ingredients into the bowl. It's just time efficient. Okay, so I have my mixing bowl on top of my scale set at 0, and I'm going to put 700 grams of water in it. I try to get my water to be room temperature or a little on the warm side, definitely not hot, that will kill your yeast. If it's super cold, like our filtered water comes out of the fridge, so when it's really cold, I just pop it in the microwave for a minute to get, to take the chill off. Otherwise your dough will take like 2 hours to rise. All right, so here we go. 700 grams of water. And then I'm going to put 1 stick of butter, and I just chopped it up and threw it in the microwave for 30 seconds to soften it a little bit. So 1 stick of butter.
Can I help?
Now you wanna help me? Okay, come here. Okay, he's getting a stool. Okay, do you wanna squeeze the honey in? Okay, so we have to set the scale to 0. So just click that to set it to 0. Good. Now, I need you to squeeze the honey in until we get 60 grams. 60 grams of honey, okay? Good job. I think that's it. Great job. Oh, we put 61. That's okay. The sweeter, the better. That's it for the honey. Now we're going to press it again, set it to 0. And now we're going to now I don't have a specific order for these ingredients. They just all go in the bowl, so no big deal. Okay, so this is my active dry yeast that I keep in the fridge just to keep it fresh and alive. So we're gonna set that to 0, and we're going to sprinkle in just 14 grams. Good job. Whoops, 18 grams. It'll rise a little bit faster. That's no big deal at all. That's actually easier. So we have 18 grams of yeast in there, but on a normal day, we would do 14 grams. Now we're going to put in the salt, and we're gonna do about 20 grams, somewhere between 20 and 24. Go ahead and put that to 0 again. Okay. Tell me when it gets to 20, okay?
90. 20.
Is it a 20? Great job. So we have 20 grams in there. If you go a little over on the salt, anything like to 24, 25 grams is totally fine. All right, so we have our water, we have our butter, we have our yeast, we have our salt and our honey. Now all we need is the flour that we just milled. So at this point, we don't need our scale anymore because we weighed
You said not the salt.
What?
You said not the salt.
I forgot to say salt?
Yeah.
And we put the salt in, so good job. All right, we just need to put our flour in here. I like to take my little filter here and just flick it. It cleans it out, and it doesn't waste any of that flour dust, except for the dust that just flies into the air and creates a very misty, snowy-like ambiance in your kitchen. All right, I set that to the side because there's also some flour on top here that I'm gonna kind of dump in. I just try to release the flour that's on the ceiling here. And just twist off that filter and turn it upside down to get all of flyaway flour into the bowl. All right, now we're just going to pop all of our flour into the bowl. It's nice and fluffy. Some freshly milled whole grain goodness. All of those nutrients staying nice and fresh, straight from the wheat berry into your body. All right.
What are we making again?
This is bread. Yep. All right. Now all we have to do is pop this in our stand mixer.
Yeah.
And we're gonna mix it for about 14 minutes. Good. Keep it at level 2 for about 12 to 14 minutes. I usually go 14. Our dough is mixed, kneaded, and ready. So I'm just kind of pulling the dough away from the sides a little bit. I want to show you what the dough should look like and feel like after it's mixed properly, if it's kneaded properly. So you should be able, if it's fully ready to be done mixing and fully ready for its first rise, you should be able to gently pull on the dough and see through it. You should be able to see light through it. Now, you see I have a window behind me. This is called the window pane test. You should be able to stretch the dough nice and thinly without having it rip. Now, if we had only kneaded for, let's say, 5 minutes or so, or even like 8 minutes, it would start to tear as I did this. But once your gluten has developed and is really nice and strong, it will stretch without tearing, which is the coolest thing ever. So I just kind of pull it off the sides, making it into a nice ball of dough. And then I'm gonna grab some olive oil or any oil that you prefer. You can do avocado oil, coconut oil, or whatever. And I just pull it off. And then I'm just gonna grab some oil and oil the bowl. So now I'm just gonna take a little drizzle of oil just on the side. So maybe a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons, something like that. And then I get my hand in there and I dig around it. I'm keeping the dough in a ball, but I'm just coating it evenly with the oil. This is gonna help it not stick to the bowl once it has risen. It's gonna make it very easy to work with when we have to cut it in half and roll and shape the dough into our loaves. So here we go. I'm gonna hold my hand because it's like nice and slippery. So I'm showing you the dough here, and we're just gonna let it rest. It's gonna take about an hour. You want it to double in size. So you can see that this is filling about half of my bowl. I want it to rise to the top or even bubbling over the top just a little bit. I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap and then let it rise for an hour. The dough has risen. You can see it's come just to the top right there. And I'm gonna take off the plastic wrap. I'm actually gonna save this plastic wrap. I'm gonna reuse it when I have my dough split into the loaf pans. So I'm just gonna very carefully lift this off and put the non-greasy side down on the counter here so that I can reuse it. And then this is one of the most fun parts of baking bread is you get to deflate the dough. Usually my kids are fighting over who gets to punch the dough, but they're not around right now, so I get to punch the dough. And you can see it deflate, which is really fun. And then to gather your dough, I just kind of pull it and form it back into a dough ball, like that. And then I'm just gonna dump it out on my surface here. Now I'm going to divide it up as evenly as possible. You could get out your kitchen scale and weigh your pieces to make sure they're perfectly uniform. If I were selling these, I would do that, but we're just eating them. So I just try to be as even as possible while I am, just like eyeballing it. So those actually look really even. Time will tell. As they rise, sometimes one rises a little higher than the other one. It's no big deal. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to shape my little dough pieces. I usually just like flip it over and then push down with my fingers into a rectangle shape. And then I just kind of pull in the sides like that. And then I'm going to kind of pinch, tuck, and roll gently but tightly over itself until the seam is on the bottom, and then just kind of give the sides a nice pinch to create a little seam there. And it looks really short and fat, but it's going to expand as it does its second rise. So before I put it in the pan, I'm gonna just take my avocado oil spray and I'm gonna give a quick spray in the pans, and I'm gonna move my loaf right here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this guy. And again, I'm just gonna push out to a rectangular formation, fold it in, and then pinch, tuck, and roll. It doesn't have to be a perfect situation. It's just about getting a nice tight structure that will give it strength in the oven. Strength in bread equals chewiness, sturdiness, so that when you slice it, it doesn't crumble and fall apart. And that's good. I have my seam kind of on the bottom. I have my sides pinched, and I'm just gonna gently plop it right in there. Now, you can see how they look so tiny. How are they gonna fill that up? When it does its second rise, it is actually going to fill up all sides of the pan and then just kind of come up over the top of the pan, probably by like a 1/2 inch in the center. And then that's when we'll know that it's time to bake. As they're kind of hitting the surface, I will preheat my oven to 375 and get them ready. If you want to speed up this process, you can put this in a warm spot. Like if you have your oven going because you're baking something else, you can just put them on top of your stove so that they have kind of the warmth of the oven. It'll go pretty quickly. Like at this point, they could rise and be ready in like a 1/2 hour. If your kitchen is cold and you just have them on the counter, it might take an hour, but you just gotta keep an eye on them, keep it nice and covered, and then we will come back when these have risen to about a 1/2 inch over the edge, and then we will get them in the oven. The loaves have risen over the edge. They're pretty even for not weighing the sections, but this one is rising a little bit higher. It's probably a little bit more dough on that side, but that's okay. Anyway, so they have risen, I don't know, maybe it's a whole inch or so over the edge in the middle. So I'm going to take my plastic off very carefully. If you rip the plastic off quickly, it could tear that top layer of the dough and deflate it a little bit. So I'm just gonna very carefully peel it. And then I'm gonna check my oven to make sure, okay, good. Just wanted to make sure my rack is set to the middle. Sometimes if I have them spaced out for like double baking, then I have to switch it. But anyway, so I'm going to very carefully place these in the middle rack of the oven. If you do it not carefully, again, it could kind of like disturb those really nice air bubbles that are in there and could deflate the dough a little bit. So you just wanna work quickly but carefully when you put these in. I have the oven preheated to 375. I'm going to bake them uncovered for 15 minutes. Then I will grab some foil to lay over the top and then bake them, continue baking for another 20 minutes. So 35 minutes total, 15 minutes uncovered, 20 minutes loosely covered with foil. So here we go, the first portion of the baking. So I'm just gonna do one at a time, very carefully placing them in. Close together but not touching. And then I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. When that timer goes off, I'll grab my foil, tent, lay it over, and then do 20 more minutes. My 15-minute timer went off, so I'm grabbing my tin foil. This I reuse over and over for my bread. I just kind of like fold it and stick it back in my cabinet, and when I need to use it again, I have it ready. Foil actually works better as a tent when it's all wrinkled up, so even if you're grabbing some new foil, scrunch it up first, then stretch it back out, and then cover. So it's been in for 15 minutes. I'm gonna put very loosely tent over the top, like so. Then I'm gonna set the timer for 20 more minutes, and then it'll be done. Bread is done, let's take it out. There's one. I'm gonna gonna let these cool for about 10 or 20 minutes before I try to take them out of the tins. I'm also gonna let them cool on their sides. One of my friends a while ago told me a trick that if you kind of let them cool on their sides, then the top doesn't really sink in. Otherwise it'll kind of wrinkle and sink in a little bit, but it helps it stay tall and fluffy if you let them cool on their side. So I'll probably give it like 10 minutes or so on one side, 10 minutes or so on the other side. And then when they're cool enough to take out, I'll let them do the rest of the cooling right on the wire rack out of the pans. Time to take the bread out of the pans. I'm just gently kind of pulling it away from the sides, making sure not to tear anything. And if you want, you can take a little butter knife and go along. Pop it out. And it is so soft and squishy. Smells amazing. I'm gonna get the other one out. There you go. My boys requested a slice of the warm bread, so I'm just gonna show you how it looks on the inside here. Isn't that pretty? So squishy. So get up a nice, I'm gonna cut a nice thick slice, butter it up, and then give my boys half of it. See that? Smells so good. Spread butter all over it. Here you go, boys. Hope you make it. Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe, comment. See you next time.
Actually subscribe because it's so good.